Hey YouTube, here's Heiko. I'm in my inspection pit under my Jeep Patriot and trying to replace a oil pan gasket. I don't know if those vehicles maybe come without a gasket and the oil pan is installed with some sort of silicone sealant from the factory, or if this was a previous repair. I have no idea. I was able to buy a gasket for the oil pan, and now I'm struggling with replacing or cleaning it all up and then putting a gasket in there. So I'll turn you guys around and show you what I'm talking about. Someone glues an oil pan on with RTV sealant and and uses a lot of it, and it's squeezing out everywhere into the engine, into the oil pan pretty much, and out, and then you have to take it off because it's leaking. It is a struggle. What I ended up doing is I made a little tool here. Let's not point towards the light. This is just a putty knife or a scraper from Ace Hardware store, like the cheap one. I bend it to almost a 90-degree angle, and then it doesn't focus on it. Oh my goodness. I sharpen the edges, the side edges, this one and the other one. And then I used another scraper. Where is it? Where's my other scraper? My little putty knife. This is a pretty short scraper. It's pretty stiff. And I also sharpened the edge here in the front. So I was able to stick it in between the oil pan and the engine block. And once that was accomplished, I used my self-made tool, shoved that in, and then I pretty much hit this surface here with a little hammer and just pushed it around and around and around. And then once you have about 2/3 of it loose, then you can gently try to get a big screwdriver in there and just pry it off, and then you hear the sealant kind of break loose, and then you can take it off. But then you have the struggle of getting all that old sealant off the sealing surface here on the engine block. I mean, I luckily have an inspection pit, so I can stand. I don't need to lie on my back, and it's doable. And then I have another scraper. This is pretty much a gasket scraper. Why is my camera not focused on anything that I put in my hand? So this is a gasket scraper that I really sharpen up. So really sharp edge. I even put it on a sharpening stone. So at first I used my belt sander to get the edge on there, and then I used a knife sharpening stone to really get the bottom edge here flat. And now I'm just running it around and scraping off that old stuff. Then I probably have to do that on the oil pan as well, and then I have to straighten out the edge of the oil pan, and then I'm going to use this beautiful gasket. If I use any kind of sealant, it's usually a non-curing sealant. One of my favorites is Hylonar. Here, let me show you the package if I can find it real quick. Hylonar, where are you? This puppy. That stuff. It's very tacky. It has kind of the consistency of a very sticky, kind of like a paste, and it stays that way. So it does not glue things together. It's just a sealant, but it's very oil resistant, gasoline resistant, all that other stuff. And usually I use that on only one surface. So let's say once I have the oil pan all cleaned up, I'll stick the gasket to the oil pan with that sealant, and then leave the surface on the engine block completely alone. So if this has to ever be taken apart again, there's not going to be any struggle. The sealant itself can be removed with like acetone. So if you take something apart and someone in the past has used Hylonar, you can remove it with like lacquer thinner or acetone and have no struggle taking it apart. If I really have two perfect pieces where the sealing surfaces are untouched, they're clean, there are no nicks, there's nothing, I would just put that gasket in there dry no sealant whatsoever. I'll make that determination once I have the oil pan cleaned up and see how straight it is and whatnot. Those gaskets here, they have a little bit of heat activated sealant on here themselves, so it really doesn't need it. It's Hylonar is really for convenience, because you can perfectly position the gasket on the oil pan and then stick it on there, and it's not going to move around. And the tackiness is so good that you can even peel the gasket back off if you put it on the wrong way, and then stick it back down. And like I said, it's a very thin film. There's not going to be a lot of squeeze out. There's not going to be anything in the engine block. I just need to get all that old stuff off. So I can only recommend, if there is a gasket available, buy it. Don't use just sealant, because it's just a pain in the neck to, first of all, get it apart without breaking stuff and without gouging. This is all cast aluminum. You don't want to gouge the heck out of it, and then and then you have the next leak. So use gaskets, and preferably use them dry or with some non-curing sealant, so you can actually take it apart in like a few years if you have to. This is just by the way, I am really impressed. Well, I don't know, impressed, but this is the oil pump. This is massive. I've never seen such a large oil pump up there, in there. Let me turn on some light for you. You can see the crankshaft. And then here is a little chain. It's just like a timing chain that runs the oil pump. This is massive. This is cheap Chrysler product. I bet this engine is not their invention. It's probably used in a lot of smaller vehicles. It's a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder, but yeah, just the size of this oil pump is pretty impressive. Yeah, anyways, strainer looks clean. I didn't find any particles, no dirt, junk, anything. I'm really just doing that because I constantly have a little bit of an oil seep here, and I just don't like it. And so, and I thought I'd take you along and tell you about my struggles, and maybe someone learned something from it. And if you like those videos, those short little tech tips, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you. Take care. Bye.